Alright, welcome again to Igbo Forest. So please, if it's your first time of coming across my video or watching my video, please I want you to do me a favor, like and subscribe, turn on the notification, please drop your comments. So without wasting much of our time, I want to quickly share a breakdown on GBPJPY for you. So what I'm currently looking at and what I'm expecting from the market. So here we're on the weekly time frame. So the first thing I want to do in the market, once I come to the market, the first thing I want to do here is I want to first thing I want to be able to figure out the direction, the strength of the market is really pointing to, the direction, the momentum of the market. So what the first thing I do, I come to the weekly time frame to figure out my direction, the strength of the market is. But before we go in, before we gradually scale down to the lower time frame, I want to point out some few things on the weekly time frame. I think I spoke on this on my previous video, but I want to still lay emphasis on this analysis too. So what I want to point out here is, now first of all, I want to identify the trend. What is the trend of this market as we are looking at it from the weekly side? What we can see here is we are seeing a bullish structure. Now we had a push. If we are starting from this base, you can see start from here. So let's look at the current market price. So what we have this massive drop before we had this push here, drop, we had this push, aggressive push, which caused a break or structure, which create this strong eye. So what we see here, after this break or structure to the upside, we had a massive drop in price. Are we together? We had a massive drop in price. Once a situation whereby we had this drop in price. Now let me explain, please. I want you to pay close attention. Once we had this massive drop in price, this is a signal that sellers are stepping into the market. And does this give us any confirmation that the sellers have like dominating the market? No. And the reason why you are saying no, because we have not break below the previous low. But one thing I want you to understand is once we had an aggressive sell, like this is a signal that there's a strong selling momentum in the market. So there's no way we are going to look for opportunity to just jump into a buy trade. Now before we can go into a buy trade, we need to closely examine the market structure to be able to see if there's any price correction that's price want to push up. I know that it might not be clear here, the explanation, because of the what we are currently seeing here. As we gradually scale down to the lower time frame, I'm going to break it down. Once we had a spike down, now what we see, we have this massive bearish spike to the downside. We had this spike. This is a signal that sellers have stepped into the market. But before the close, we had a rejection of the candle. This is a bullish rejection. This is a signal that sellers came, but buyers still struggle to push the market upward, which we had this rejection. And this is telling us that at least the buyers are still strong in the market, but they within this week here, the candle still closed bearish, signaling that sellers are still in the market. And in the previous candle here, we had the previous candle that followed, we had a massive drop in price. Now price dropped aggressively to this point, but what we can see here is the buyer stepped in again and pushed the market all the way to the upside, closing bullish. This is a signal that buyers are really strong in the market. The following candle that followed, we had a spillage. Price closed here, but the following week price opened below here, which is a gap here before push up to this level. Now currently, what are we going to do in this market? Are we looking for opportunity to buy, or we are still looking for opportunity to sell? Now as I've said, we gradually scale down to the lower time, you clearly understand what I'm trying to explain in essence. Now what I'm trying to say in essence, when price drop like this, you can't just jump into either buying or selling. You need to have a clear confirmation on which direction you are taking. Are we together? So what we had here, we had a push here to the other side. So what you can see here, we have our weekly range. We have this low and this high. So as we gradually scale down to the lower time, we are going to conclude that what we are going to do at the market for the moment. But you cannot conclude. But we can see from this point, what we can see now, the market is still pushing to the upside, or the market is still maintaining uptrend. But that does not give us any confidence to buy at the moment. That's why we're still going to closely examine the price action from the lower time frame. So let's see. All right. Now let's see what I'm trying to say next. Now, once on the weekly time, now I drop analysis on USD/GBP, which has a similar structure like this, but this is what I want to explain now. Now, this was a massive drop. This was our low and our high, which is this is giving more like a daily trading range. So now what we expect after a break or after a significant break or structure, what we anticipate for? We anticipate for a retracement. Now, this most people might not consider this as a low, but this will add a bit of minor break or structure to the upside. All right, if you are looking at this level here, this is more like a break. Now, I think I placed a trade here. I think I shared the trade with you. Yes. Now this was a low which led to the break of this high here. Now most of people regard this as a low. When price came up, once we had this spike, now this spike break below this level, which makes people regard as a break shift in market structure. But whatever form you see it, but this is what I want to take as a strong low. Now if you're looking at this, I would take this is more strong low for me to take. But once we had a massive sell like this in the market, you don't rush to take a buy or a sell. Now before you can say you want to take a particular action, whether you are buying or selling, you need to see a clear confirmation of what direction the market is actually pushing to. All right, now what I want to closely explain here is this is our trading range, this is our daily high, this is our daily, this is our daily low, this is our daily high. Now what are we expected to do on this time frame now? Now the weekly time frame, from the look of things, as I've said earlier, the weekly time frame is giving us a bullish structure. Now telling us that price, as long as price has not swept below this structural low here, it's still giving us that okay, the market is still bullish. Now, but there's no any confluence that is from the weekly time frame that is telling us that okay, we should buy. Now, before we can buy in the market, we need to see a clear reversal pattern. Like this is a drop, that's a retracement, a clear reversal on the retracement. Now, but the weekly time frame do not give us something. We only see a rejection candle. Now, if we come to scale down to the daily time frame here, what we see after this massive drop, we had a push here. We had a push. This is a signal that buyers step in. We had a consolidation here. Now, this consolidation. Hold on. Hey. So, what I can say here is. What I can tell you is, yeah, we're on the daily time frame now. Now, once we come to the scale to the daily time frame, what we had here, we had a bit of consolidation. Now, the question here is, the question we need to answer ourselves is this consolidation giving us a confirmation that the market want to push to the upside or to the downside? And before we can say a market is trending today, now, what do we expect now? In a market like that is pushing up now, we had a high, low, high. Now, if the market is, this is our strong low that led to this break of structure. And what do we expect now as the market gradually build minor structure to the downside? Now, we don't expect the market to break below this strong low. We expect it to, now once we expect internal shift in market structure. Once we had a shift in market structure, what do you anticipate? We anticipate a retracement before a push to the upside. Are we together? But what we had here, we had a consolidation. Now this a consolidation is not a clear reversal that the market want to push to the upside. It just gives us that the market came and there's a moment of pause here. That there's no exact direction. We can't market this consolidation can break to any direction, either to the upside or to the downside. So what we can tell from the daily time frame here is that the market is not really giving us any definite direction that we're going to trade into altogether. So the next thing we want to do here is, that's why I said once a market drop, so my emphasis here is once a market drop aggressively in the opposite direction before we take any trade in the original overall trend direction, we need to have a clear confirmation. The clear confirmation can come in various forms. Now, it can come in form of engulfing candle. We probably had a single candle, a doji before a bullish engulfing candle. But here we have similar something. We have this, after this massive drop, we have two doji candle here before we have this engulfing candle. But follow again, we have this massive drop in price, which and bearish which engulfed the candle to the downside before we had this rejection. So overall, this is more like a consolidation. It's not really giving us a clear pattern if the market is going to push to the upside or to the downside. So we are still going to gradually scale down to the lower time frame. Let's go to the 4-hour. All right, so hold on. Hold on, so let me observe something first. Hold on. So that's fine. So you can still do it on the. So now what are we currently seeing now? Now, mind you, let's remove this bar here. Hold on. I don't know why this thing's taking much time. Now, if I remove this green box here, now what we had here is, now we expect a retracement. This is our high, this is our low. What we anticipate a retracement. So what we had here is, we had this massive drop here in price. Price came down low, push up, came low here, push up, low, came back here, a rejection and a push to this recent level. Now what we are currently looking at here is market is more like consolidating within a range. So let's see, we had this, so what we can see here is price is still consolidating. Now one thing I want to point out is, in a market like this, we don't really, now if though the market is expected to push up, now we cannot take, there's no any clear entry point as for now. Now if you closely observe the consolidation here, we had this was a massive drop, right? We had this massive drop in price. The lowest point that price got to was this low. Let me map it out. This was the lowest point price got to. We had this low here. Now what do we anticipate? Now once we had this low, if this market indeed want to push to the downside, if the market has a strong bearish momentum, what do we expect after this low? Once price create a low, what do we expect? To push up. We expect this to cause a break of structure to the downside. But what we had here, a price consolidate a bit here like a weakness before it push up, came back again, retest this level, and this is giving us a confirmation. It's more like a double top. This is a signal that price want to drop aggressively. So but price drop but fail to close below this level. This is also a signal that the sellers are losing momentum in the market. So what we had here, we had a bullish push which break above this high. Okay, so once we break above this high, what do we anticipate for? Anticipate for a retracement before a push. But what we had the retracement, but it's not as significant as what we had here is, look at what we had here. This is the 4-hour structure. So currently what we are looking at here, our focus will be on this. Our focus will be on this push here. This push. Now, if you closely examine, based on my own style of trading, now what we expected to do, we expect to buy at a level of demand. Now, the most obvious level of demand here is which price has already mitigated. So what we had here is we had a failure here. Now this is the current bullish structure that we're looking at. Now what we expect, once we had a push here, now we're still within, we slightly break above the consolidation. Once we break above, we had expect a retracement, and the retracement we expect, the mitigated demand level I can see here is this level here. We had a level of demand here. The level price is currently reacting from is this. So once we had this, we had a push here. Price came and mitigate this level before push. After we broke, price drop again. And what we have here, price is the current. What we have currently here is, hold on. Price, hold on. Price came. Price is currently pushed down again. Retest the level again. Now what do I expect now? I'm expecting like this is more like I'm expecting a breakout. Once we had a breakout, I can look for opportunity to buy. But first of all, we're still going to wait for a clear confirmation for let the price to break out to whatever extent before we look for opportunity to take the buy. But at this point, let's still wait for breakout first. Once we break out, we can look for a clear level of demand and take the trade. And we are not trading the breakout, we are trading the like break and retest, but more like a demand level. Once it break out, they create a imbalance. We can look for the demand level and wait for the retest again. So more like, so that's what I'm expecting from the market currently. So I'm still currently looking at this level here. So this will be my point of interest at this moment, but so we are still going to closely observe it before we can take any trade. So the stop loss will depend on your risk appetite. Our profit target can extend it to any level. So let me share this with you quickly. Thank you, and I think this will be peace out.